Good morning, Internet. This is Alex the Sudoku, and we have another medium New York Times Sudoku for you today on Friday, the 28th of August 2020. So let's jump right into it. I thought I'll do it a bit slower, continue to do normal medium Sudokus because I think that's more useful for anyone who's beginners watching. You know who you are. So I'm just going to do some pencil markings in, and hopefully it will be helpful. So I've got a pair of ones here, locking a pair of ones over there. I've got another pair of ones here, locking the ones in the column 2. So have we got any more interactions? Not that I can see, so let's move on to 2s. We've only got 1, 2, so it doesn't give us anything. So what about 3s? So these 2 3s and that 3 act on each other, locking a pair of 3s over there. These 2 3s also interact with that 3, giving us another pair of 3s. These 2 3s interact, giving us another pair of 3s there. And I think that's all the 3s that we can pencil mark in. So let's check our 4s. We've got a pair of 4s here because of these 2 4s. And these 2 4s leave us 3 possibilities, so that's no use for us. But these 2 4s actually gives... Oh, silly me. I do have blindness to numbers for some reason. Anyway, these 2 4s gives us another pair of 4s, which creates a matching pair of 1s and 4s. So when that happens, it's always worth looking. I think especially when we only have 3 digits, it's worth looking and see if we can unlock these basically. And I can already see the 5 sees into those 2 cells, pushing the 3 out there, and the final number will have to be the 2. So now we have 2 2s, which still don't give us anything where they interact. Does a 3 give us anything new? So these 2 3s gives us a pair of 3s there, and that 3 actually erases a pencil mark. So we've got yet another 3, and I think that's all we can do with the 3s. What about the 5? 5, well, these 2 act on each other, giving us another pair of 5s over there. So I think that's the end of the chain, unless there's something that this 3 does. Nope. So these 2 5s, resuming back to 5s, we've got another pair of 5s down there. These 2 5s also locks a pair of 5s in here. So in a way, that 3 did do something for us. But I think that's all we can do. So let's move on to 6s. These 2 6s lock out the outside edges. So we've got another pointed pair of 6. And these work in tandem with these 2 6s, locking another pair of 6s for us. These 2 6s now interact with that 6. So we've got a pair of 6s over there, but more importantly, this 6 actually locks a 6 in here. So that means that 6 can't be, and we have another confirmed 6. So that 6 and that 6 also interact, giving us a pair of pointer 6s, and they look down with that 6 and that 6, forcing the final 6s to be pencil marked in those 2 corners. So that's all the 6s pencil marked ins. Let's move on to 7s. So these 2 7s seems to be the only ones on the board, and they lock a pair of 7s here by this direction, and they also locked a pair of 7s in this direction as well. Although actually we've got a pointer triple of 7s in here, because 7 has to be in here somewhere, so that can't actually be a 7, forcing a 7 over here, and now we've got a pair of 7s looking down here. Can we do anything else? So before we move on, we've actually created a triple here, so can we deduce what they are? They are 1, 2, so 2s are there, and because of that 2, and 9 also sees into that cell, so that unlocks a 1 for us here, and that 1 resolves the 4 and 1 up there at the top. The 1 doesn't do anything for us over in that direction, but looking down, it gives us another pointed pair of 1s. This 4 doesn't do anything on that side because we've already got all the 4s. What about over here? Well, it works with that 4 giving us a pair of 4s, although since we've already got 2s and 9s locked in, those are out of play anyway, so we already knew we've got a pair of 4s. So now that gives us a 4 in the bottom corner because of the pointer 4s. So 4, and that gives us another 1. So that 1 works backwards over there, giving us another pair of 1s. And actually I can see we've restricted the ones in those 2 cells in the pointed area, but it also resolves that 1 as well, which I missed earlier. So that gives us another 1, and I think that's all the 1s pencil marked in. Let's rewind back to the 4s. Can we do anything else with the 4s? No. So they're all the 4s pencil marked in. And what else did we put in? I think we put in a 7 here. I think we've already done what we can with this 7. So I think, yeah, we unlocked the 1-4 pair up there. I can't see any more interactions, but I do notice there's a pair here, pair of 3 candidates left on this column. They are 2s and 9s, and we can't see either 2 or 9 in either of the cells. So, can we resolve them? So the 9 sees into these 2 cells, leaving us with 3 possibilities. That 2 looks into here and also sees into that cell, so we actually have a pair of 2s there, but it still doesn't help us resolve the 2s and 9s. But we do have another triple 2 over here. So I think, no, I can't see anything else we can do with that. But I just noticed something else. That 2 looks up here, and I have a pointed triple of 2s here, so 2s will have to go in there, really. And it happened to fall on a triple as well, and the triple is 2, 4, and 8. We can see a 4, can't see either. We can see a pair of 2s in there, so that's 4 and 8, that's 2 and 8, and this is 2, 4, and 8. Not very useful for us, unfortunately. So I think I was looking at 2s, so no, nothing else on 2s that I can see. So I think we've, again, exhausted ourselves. What about this 5, 7, and 8 triple? No, we already know we can't resolve that. So I think it's time to do another... Oh, hold on. I can see these 2 8s interact. I think I've actually lost my place in terms of where I was with the numbers. I don't think I've actually done a full round yet. I think maybe I was working on 7s. I do vaguely remember looking at 7s, yes. So let's continue on with 7s and see how we get on. 7, 7, 7, 7. Can't see anything else, so what about 8? Yes, we've got a pair of 8s locked in here because of these 2 8s. And these 2 8 locks a pair in there. And I think that's all the interactions that we've got. What about 9s? 9s, well, we've got a pointer pair of 9s there, so 9s have to go in here. These 2 9s interact over here, locking a pair of 9s over there, and they interact over here. That gave us a pair of 9s ready. So, 9s, can we do anything else with the 9s? No, I think we've exhausted ourselves with 9s. So we've done a full round of 1 to 9s. Done a fair bit, but we haven't quite unlocked the puzzle yet. So let's have a look at the weak areas first. We've got a triple here, which are 6, 7, and 9. I can see... Okay, so I can see a 6 and 9 in this cell because of the 6s and the 9s as pencil markings. That means they can't be in any other cells. So that means this is actually an... Oh. Hang on a second. 6, 7, and 9. So something is not right here. I can see... Oh, sorry. This has to be... I see 6 and 9, so this has to be a 7 actually. So that erases that 7 and gives us another 7 up here. So these 2 7s now work together and locks another 7 over here. That 7 on its own creates a pointer pair of 7s here, but they don't point to anything special. But I think I'm now left with 4 possibilities in this cage. not super useful. In fact, this whole cage has not really been touched yet. So hopefully we'll be able to unlock them soon. So 6 and 9s, can they be resolved? I can't see a 9 in here, so however, that 9 now, by putting a 7 in here, 9s are now restricted to those cells. So what else are we missing in this cage? 6, 8, 9 and 2s. So that 2 locks a pair of 2s up there as well. And I think that's all we've got. We've got another triple here, 2, 5 and 9. I can see a 9, but I can't see a 2. So that's no use for us. And judging by the fact that we've got more than one pencil marking with the other cells, that means there's no way they are single values, basically. Although I suppose, no. I was trying to use the other logic, but there is no other logic in place at the moment. So, this 6-9 pair can't be resolved. We've got 4 cells, so I'm going to ignore that for now. We've got another 3 here, 2, 4 and 8. I think we looked at that before, didn't we? So I do remember 2, 4 and 8 being mentioned. So let's look at them vertically. We've definitely looked at a triple. We've got quadruple, another triple here, 5, 7 and 8 as well. 8 seems to be the weak number. Although it's not that weak, is it? Because we've only got 2 2s, but we've got 3 8s. But for some reason the 8 is what's stopping me in our tracks a lot of the times. So maybe, should we look at the weak numbers now? Or should we do another round? Because we are doing medium Sudoku, so I think it's worth doing a second round of numbers to see if we have unlocked any more digits. We've actually done a lot, so I kind of thought the puzzle was quite near the critical point of unlocking itself, basically. So let's see, 1s, I think I've done all the pencil markings in. 2s is probably what we can attack because it's quite weak. But we haven't got any more new candidates yet. So what about 3s? Is that another one that we've done all the pencil markings in? No, we haven't, but we've got 3 locked in 4 possible cells in this cage. So this cage is really giving me trouble. So what were we looking at? 3s, yes. What about 4s? I really hope that the sound suppression has stopped the truck that just drove by from coming up on the audio, so it'd be interesting to know. I can't see anything with 4s. I think we've already I think we've pencil marked in all the 4s. 5s. Is 5 another one that we have loads of candidates left? So I've got a pair there. So I think, yeah, we've got lots of possibilities in this cage. So 6s. 6. Can't see anything. 7s. Let's hope it's not another really difficult medium puzzle. 8. Yeah, seems like we're not having any developments. 8's over there, but no, nothing. 9. We may have to use advanced techniques again on the medium, which is quite disappointing how difficult it's been this week. I guess it's only difficult in terms of Snyder notations. I think if you're really desperate to solve this, and you want to ignore Snyder notations, there's always an auto candidate button that you can click on, and that'll tell you all the possibilities on the board. But I actually find it a bit too cluttery, and it doesn't actually help you improve, I suppose. So, with that in mind, I think we'll move on to my normal strategy of looking at the weak numbers. So I think 2s are weak on this board because we've only got 2 2s, and I think it has the least occurrences on the board, basically. So sometimes that means we may have what's called a naked single within the board. Don't get too excited. It just means a cell can't be any other possibilities, any other numbers but 1. And I think basically we're stripping the pencil markings from that cell until only one possibility is remaining, and I suppose that's why it's called a naked single. So what do we do with the weak numbers? I can't even guarantee that we can get anything from it, but basically you look at a weak number and you look at what cells it can see within the cage, within the row and the column. Typically you want to look at the rows and columns, and you're looking for areas where there aren't more than one digit, basically, but more specifically you're looking for empty cells like this one. And what we're hoping to do is we're hoping that this cell actually sees all the other numbers except for one digit, basically. Unfortunately, I can tell you that this cell is definitely not a naked single, because it's the rows and columns are really sparse as well as the cage. So let's have a look. We can see a 1, we can naturally see a 2, 3, 4, we can't see a 5, we can see a 6, 7, we can't see an 8, so we also can't see a 9, so this is a 5, 8 and 9, so that's not useful for what we are trying to do right now. So if the blank cells don't give you anything, then the next thing we move on to is looking at the individual cells, basically. I'm also going to continue looking at the rows and columns, but what I'm going to focus on are cells like this, where you see a lot of numbers on the rows, ideally the column. I mean, there's not much on a row, but there are quite a lot of numbers on the column, so I'm hoping that we'll have something, but I'm skeptical because, this is at least a 7 or an 8, because we already looked at this triple before, and we know that 8 is a bit problematic anyway, so that could be 7 or 8. So what may be worth doing as well is looking at cells that interact with the other weak number. So 8 is the other weak number at the moment because we've only got 3 of them. And I think, judging by the density of the board, I think all the other numbers we have more than 3 candidates. And we can go around and count, but I think just from going around and always missing an 8 or a 2, we know we can guesstimate that 2 and 8 are the weak numbers. So the other thing we could do is use the 8 as the other weak number and go around the board as well. But before we do, let's look at where the 2s and 8 interact. So they interact here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I haven't got a 5, so immediately I can move on, because if I can't see a 5 in this cell, that means that's at least a 5 or a 6. So there's no point in continuing on, basically. So over here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can't see an 8, so that's at least a 5 and 8. So none of these are useful. That also interacts with an 8, but we already ruled it out. So what about this 2? Does that interact with any 8s? Well, we've either got numbers in those cells, or we've got doubles in those cells where it interacts with an 8. So I think we have no luck with the 8s. So the next thing I want to do is maybe look at the 8 and see if we can spot something else. Well, we've got pointer pair of 2s there, so it actually technically interacts with the 8 on this cell. So let's see if we've got any luck. 1. So we've got 1, we've got pointer pair of 2s, 3, 4, 5. We've got pointer pair of 6s up there. We've got a 7 and we've got an 8. So there's actually no other candidates besides a 9 that can go in this cell. So let's go through that again. We can see a 1. We can see a pointer pair of 2s. So there's no way this cell can be a 2. We've got a 3. We can see a 5, 4, 5. We can see a pointer pair of 6s, or within the cage, we've already notated where the 6s can go. We can see a 7. We can see an 8. So the only digit that we haven't found yet is the 9. So I think this is how we solve this puzzle, because I can see that this 9 unlocks the 9 over here, which pushes a 5 into place, leaving us with a triple of 2, 3 and 6. Well, I've got 2 over there, and that we've already ruled out 3 as well from that, so that has to be the 6, which leaves us with a 2, 3 pair, which is useful because if these are 2s, that's a pointed pair. pointing the 2 over here and unlocks the 2, which we already could have resolved because of the 9 earlier anyway. This 2 now sees down here, the pencil marking unlocks another 2, and that 2 looks over there, but it's working with the hidden triple, but we can't actually, not hidden triple, a triple pointer triple, but we still can't resolve the 2 and 9 over there. So that's all we can do with that 2, but it's created another triple within the cage, and these are 4, 9 and 8. We can't tell where they are, and there are no cells that sees both the 4 and the 9, so let's leave that alone. We've got another triple here, and they're 5, 8 and 9, and I can see a 5 and a 9 over here. That means the 8 has to go in here, leaving us with a 9 and a 6 resolved. So with that 9 we can take out that pencil marking, so 9 resolves, and a 4, and finally we've got the 8 in the final cell, and that 8 looks over here, unlocks the 4, unlocks the 5, and that can't be 4 anymore, so we're left with the 2, 9 pair. Can we do anything else with that? So let's see, that 8 works in tandem with that 8 as well. I see an opportunity to do a slightly more advanced technique, so I want to use it here. So these 2 8 pins a pair of 8s down here. Now what's really interesting with this is there are probably other things you can do right now, but what's really interesting is I've got 8 locked into row 8 and 9 within this cage. Well, if we look at this cage as well, the 8 is locked into rows 8 and 9 as well. Or we have to have an 8 in row 7 at the bottom. So if we ruled out the cages over here, these 2 cages, then the final cage must contain the 8 on row number 7. And that's one way you can sometimes add pencil markings, or in this case we can actually place an 8 in there, which eliminates the 6, so the 6 has to go there and the 3 has to go here. So can that give us anything? Well, it gives us a pair of 3s over here because of that 3 as well. So that's a 1-3 matching pair, and it pushes out the 8, so it forces the 8 in there. So now suddenly the 7 and 8 can be resolved. And can we do anything else with that? Not immediately. We can oh, actually yes we can. So these pair of 7s locks a 7 in the bottom row in this cage, but since 1 and 3 are out of play, that means the 7 has to go there. So with that, 6 can be placed. Unfortunately we can't actually do anything that's 6 because that's the final 6 on the board. What else can we do? Well, we've got a pair of 9s here, 5 and 9, but actually that 9 sees into these 2 cells, so the 9 has to go in here in that cage. So with that, I know the 9 has to go up here and the 5 down here. And now the 5, well actually before, without even using this 5, we can tell from this 5 working with the 1-3 matching pair means the 5 has to go in here anyway. And I've got a 5 in one of these 2 cells, I've got a 5 up there, so 5 and 2 are resolved, and that 2 resolves the 2 and the 9. Doesn't cause any additional chains because that row has been restricted already. Now this cage, we've only got 1 playable cell, well I suppose the row to be fair, and if I'm not mistaken, that is a 2. So placing that 2 unlocks the 2 and 3 up there, and that 3 in turn unlocks the 1 and 3, and that 1 in turn unlocks the 1 over here, and we're just left with 2 possible cells. Well, we know the 7 has to go there because of this 7 looking into that cell, and finally we have the final 2, which was the weakest digit. And we have today's New York Times medium Sudoku for you. I hope that's been useful. Please like and subscribe if my videos are helpful to you in any way. I know I'm only getting 1 or 2 views a day, so I'm probably speaking to no one, but it's always good to kind of get into a routine, so maybe one day, if I do have more subscribers, I can be a bit more professional. Otherwise, I shall see you guys tomorrow, and have a good weekend.